way of speaking, happened to be your stepson.
Yes.
David Cassidy. Remember that heartthrob? Boy, was he like the centerfold in Tiger Beat magazine. So how was it working with your stepson?
It was great. We didn't really get to know each other as people, as adults, until we did the show. You know, David was raised by his mother, primarily, and I was sort of the wicked stepmother, so to speak. You know, and I would see him at Christmas and maybe a month in the summer or something like that. So it was kind of a strained relationship.
But you had great affection for the child.
Yes. I mean, I adored him, and I do now. I mean, we're very close, and he's very close with his brothers, too. But at that point, he was a little boy and very, you know, taken aback by this whole thing and didn't know what was going on. And so it was kind of strained. And then when we did the Partridge Family, we really got to know each other as adults, you know, on an adult level. And it was great. I mean, and he needed a family, and he needed to be closer to his brothers, and that was really when it all sort of happened, you know.
Let's bring in someone from home. Amy from Greensburg, good morning to you.
Hi, I have a question and a comment for Miss Jones.
She's listening to you.
Do you have any recollections of when you were growing up in Pittsburgh before you went off to be a star, of who played piano for you?
I can't quite hear what she said.
Any recollections of when you were growing up in Pittsburgh before you went on to become a star, of who played piano for you?
Who played piano for me?
I know of this lady very well, and I tried to get her to come onto the show today, and she just couldn't.
What's her name?
Donna?
Donna.
It would be from Smithton.
A long time ago, you know. You're taxing my memory a little.
At that time, it would have been Donna Sherblondy. It's my best friend's aunt, and she used to play for you in churches.
It's very possible, I'm sure. You know, it's just hard for me to remember exact names.
Right. She remembers you very, very highly, and of course, we have talked with you growing up and stuff, and me and her niece. I just wondered, you know, if you had the same memories that she has.
Well, I'm sorry to say I don't remember that vividly, but I'm sure that she's right. I had several people play for me.
Thanks for calling in this morning. We'll move on. Linda from Indiana, good morning.
Hello, yes. I wanted to tell Shirley just how much I appreciate her. When we lived in Utah just a couple of years ago, all of our children, all 6 of my children and I, we were there at the state fair, and she was able to sing the national anthem, and her husband Marty was behind us, and we were sitting there on the front row, and we were just all in tears because it just gave us such an appreciation for the national anthem.
How nice. Thank you. It's not an easy song to sing.
Thanks for calling in. Let me ask you a question. What did you think about that whole flap about Roseanne Barr and the national anthem?
It was terrible. It was terrible.
What was terrible about it? The flap or the way she was singing
everything about her is terrible as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you know, she's a gross.
They're applauding with you.
Gross. I mean, to take our national anthem and do that to it really is, you know, a terrible thing. I mean, I just don't think she has anything as far as I'm concerned. She's funny. She's a funny lady, but you know, she goes too far for me.
Can we have you tell the story of how you've come so far? You go off with $160 from Dad to New York City with a dream. And you're going to tell the story best of all.
Well, prior to that, I had, the summer before, I'd gone to New York with my family on a holiday. You know, our trips to New York every summer was our family vacation. And I was on my way to college. I was going to go to college, already entered, paid the tuition and everything. But that particular summer, before college, I met a friend from the Pittsburgh Playhouse, Ken Welch, a wonderful musical director, writer, and since has become very famous in his own field. And I went to see him, and we sang for a while, and he said, I want you to meet an agent friend of mine. So he introduced me to a man by the name of Gus Shermer. And Gus said, what do you mean you're going to college? You know, I can keep you working in New York. You know, stay in New York. Lots of auditions coming up now and so forth and so on. And I was the one that was insisting on going to school. You know, I just felt that I needed that. And my parents, who were very, very supportive. I mean, when I look back on it, here I was 18 years old, and they were the ones that said, listen, if this is what you want to do, do it. Do it now. You know, you can always go to school. Do it now. And they were the ones that said, okay. And I said, well, I'm not going to take any money from you. I'll take my savings, which was that amount, and if I don't get a job before that's used up, then I'm going to go to school. And that's exactly what happened. I went back to New York, got an apartment with another girl. Then it was $75 a month on the West Side in New York. And two of us, right? So that was the rent. And the very first week I was there, Gus sent me to an audition for Rodgers and Hammerstein's casting director, John Fernley. I went in and I sang for John Fernley, and he called Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein in personally to hear me that very day. And the next few days I was in the chorus of South Pacific, and I had my job.
Isn't that amazing?
I
mean, is that a Cinderella story? Did you sit there and pinch yourself at any time and say, is this really happening to me?
You know, it was so funny, and because I was so naive and so young, I thought it happened to everybody like that. You know, I mean, it wasn't until years later that I said, wow, this is really something. I mean, this doesn't happen all the time. This was a phenomenon, and it was. But at that time, I mean, I was just too naive to know what had happened.
But a star shining very brightly from the beginning. We'll take a break. We're going to come right back with Shirley Jones.
It's been fun. Book signings, you know, it's a new experience for me, obviously. The whole book thing is. And it's fun because you really kind of get to know the people that are interested in buying your book and interested in hearing about you and learning about you. And it's kind of a different experience, you know, than just performing. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
Could we pick up with what you write about your marriages in this book, starting with Jack Cassidy?
Mm-hmm.
So many people remember him. How you met?
Jack. We did Oklahoma on the stage. I'd just finished, as a matter of fact, the motion picture of Oklahoma. And I was the only person ever under personal contract to Rodgers and Hammerstein, the one and only, first and last. And so therefore, after I'd done the film, they decided they were going to send a production of Oklahoma to Europe. It was a goodwill tour, and a lot of different plays were going over. And they asked me to play the role of Laurie on the stage, which was interesting because I'd just done the film. And of course, Jack Cassidy was hired to play the role of Curly.
And you write in the book you're immediately suspicious of him because
he was so handsome and so good looking. And I remember walking into the theater for the first day's rehearsal, and my good friend Shaye, we became very close friends and roommates. That's Jack and our two children, Sean and Patrick. Patrick was a newborn then. And Jack was on the telephone, and my girlfriend met me, and she said, oh, what do you see your leading man? He's gorgeous. And I said, forget it. They're always so dull, those handsome men, you know. I said, forget it. I'm sure he has no sense of humor, you know, and all of that. And of course, I was very wrong, because the thing that Jack did have, which was it was a great sense of humor. He was one of the funniest men. And I've come to know that I need this desperately in my life, you know, because I married two very funny men. And most people don't know that Jack and Marty, in many ways, are very similar. By the way, they're born 3 days apart. So they're the same birth sign. You know, you say you do it all over again. I did it all over again.
In backing up to Jack here, before we go on, and there seeing the marriage photo of you and Marty. Oh, you made a radiant bride. I sense that in one respect you wrote this book to help your fans, and they are by the legion, understand the men you married and why you married them.
Yes, oh sure.
It was scandal at the time that you became involved with Jack Cassidy because, in fact, he was still a married man.
He was a married man, had a small son, and here I was, you know, a young girl, my first time to Europe, of course, too. I mean, it was the courtship in Paris. I mean, it was a real love story. And I was warned by everybody. I mean, everybody said, from my own agent to of course, my parents and, you know, all of my friends said, Shirley, first of all, he's handsome and he has a big reputation of being a womanizer. Secondly, he's married. I mean, you know, what are you going to... I said, don't worry about it. You know, I'll handle it. Well, I fell 100% in love, I mean, immediately. And matter of fact, our first date, we were in Paris, and he took me to the Eiffel Tower for dinner, our first few days in Paris. And we came back to the room, and he kind of gave me a peck on the cheek, and he said, I'm going to marry you. And I said, but you're already married. He said, but I'm going to marry you. And that was the first date.
And people said, don't believe it. Ultimately, he got a divorce.
I was warned by everybody.
You did marry him.
Yes, I did marry him.
And as the years progressed, you had 3 sons, but there were also some hardships along the way. The Cinderella story ran into a few lurching incidents.
Yes, we had problems. Jack was a very vital, compulsive, brilliant man, and extremely talented. It was one of the things that was most difficult for Jack was the fact that I was the one that was basically the breadwinner for most of our marriage, you know, and I was the one that was constantly working, when in fact Jack had more talent in his little finger than I had, or any of us had. But you know, show business, and so it was very difficult for him to withstand that. That was one of the problems.
You say show business, but in the book you write that it was partly because Walter Matthau was the one who was defining what the aging, middle-aged man looked like in America at that time, and Jack was too cute, too pretty.
He was just too pretty. Jack was really ahead of his time, you know, and unfortunately, at the time of his death, he was really just beginning to come into his own as a motion picture star. And it just was beginning to happen. You know, it took Jack that amount of time and age, I think, to allow it to happen. But unfortunately, he never really lived long enough to see it.
He drank heavily?
Drank heavily. He was a womanizer all through our marriage, for the most part.
But you say you didn't really know that along the way.
No. I can't say I didn't know it. You know,
you didn't want to admit it, maybe?
Of course. I mean, I knew much of it. But I thought, who cares?
He ultimately...
I love him. He always comes home, you know, and I still believe that you must make marriage work. And the fact that I was still head over heels in love with him, from my point of view, and he was with me, absolutely was. But, you know, he loved all of the good things in life, or what he thought were the good things in life. Wine, women, and song were Jack's, you know, were his values, basically. And so that was the hard part. He set up
another woman in a condo, a plush condo in downtown Los Angeles, with your earnings.
Well, it was a house, really, but...
a house?
It was a house, not a condo. Jack had more style than that.
With your money, and was carrying on with this woman while you were working.
Basically. But you know, as much as he did that, when it came down to what he felt was actually cheating, when he felt perhaps something for the woman, he then decided to leave, because he couldn't do both. Jack couldn't do both. You know, he had too much guilt. Jack was an Irish Catholic.
What do you expect?
That's right. Yes. He was an Irish Catholic raised, and you know, he suffered with a great deal of guilt. And so the guilt was too much for him, really. I think that was really what started the breakdown. You know, his breakdown was all stemmed from guilt.
He had a mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And you write about that in very vivid terms in this book. I mean, have you had people come up to you and say, why'd you do this? Yes. Why did you reveal this?
Oh, sure, you know.
Who are they?
Well, first of all, I asked my children, you know, before any of it was done, and I told them exactly what my intentions were, and I said, you know, if any of you has objections to this, you know, I wouldn't even attempt to do it. I said, you know, this is what I plan to do, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it as honestly as I possibly can. And they were, all 3 of them, and 4 of them, David included, said, Mom, go to it, you know, as long as you're honest, we think it should be said. You know,
he left you, but you sought the divorce, and then he was trying to, what, strike up a rapport with you again?
He wanted back, yeah, he wanted back. Jack never wanted to lose me, you know. I mean, that was not his intention, ever. Jack was basically always in love with me. I think I was the love of his life, as he was mine. There's no doubt about it.
Oh.
But you know, he had so many of his own problems. I mean, Jack was very self-destructive, and his own problems he could not cope with, and therefore I finally came to the point where I said, as much as I was still in love with him, and still was, I can't put my children through this. My children cannot go through this anymore. I mean, I just felt that it was up to me at that point to seek a divorce, as much as I didn't want to, but I had to for my children's sake.
We'll take a break here and come right back in just a moment. Just taking a look through Shirley Jones' photo album, how special it is and how elegant she is as well. I love to look at these pictures.
I do too.
Let us come to a point that really is a sad part of the story, when Jack died.
Yeah, it was a very, very difficult time for me and, of course, for the children. And mainly because of the way he died. You know, it was a real disaster in a fire in the apartment he was living in at the time. And we were separated. We were just in the middle of a divorce. You know, the divorce had, as a matter of fact, I think it just become final. And it was right before Christmas, December the 9th. And I was living with Marty at the time. And the day before, Jack had called because I was going to have a birthday party for Patrick. His birthday was January the 4th. And I called Jack and I said, please come to his party, you know. And he, at that point, this was the day before, and he said, and he didn't really want to talk about that. He wanted to talk about us. And he said, I want to see you. Come over. Come now. Come over here now, you know. And I said, Jack, I can't. I said, and he said, Shirley, I'm really not going to ask you again. This is the last time I'm going to ask you. And he said, we had what dreams are made of. And he said, we can have it again. And I said, Jack, I can't go back. I can't go back now, you know. And the next morning, we got a phone call that the building had burned. And they found a body. I didn't know it was him at the time, and it was unrecognizable. And then finally, we waited, and the firemen and detectives and whatnot came to the door and told us that it was him. And the children were there, and it was very hard, very hard.
These years later, are you at peace with the way the relationship ultimately ended?
Oh, yes. I have no regrets whatsoever. I had 18 wonderful years with Jack. I really did. I mean,
you look back on them as wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. I mean, even though when I sat and read the book and I saw all of the hard parts, you know, all the difficult things and all of the struggles, I would do it again with that man. I would. You know, I would do it again. He was exciting. He was brilliant.
What did he give you?
He was talented. You know, I was in awe. I mean, he was the knight in shining armor. He was the prince on the white horse. You know, he was everything. And I think every woman should have that kind of man in their life. I really do.
Aww.
No matter what the hardships are.
Agree, disagree? What do you think? Wait a minute. They're shouting out their answers here. What?
They could dream.
You can dream about that knight in shining armor.
Right.
But you're right, the good times outweighed the bad. But I mean, what did he give you that would make you say, looking back on all the pain of that, it was still worth it?
Well, first of all, a sense of humor. As I said, I need that, and I had that, you know, I have it with Marty. And obviously, it's my #1 requirement, I've come to know, that I love to laugh, and I need somebody that makes me laugh, you know. Somebody that can have humor about themselves, about other people, about me, about the situation. You know, I mean, if you can have a knockdown, drag-out fight and then end up laughing, I mean, it's the best way. And Jack had that. Plus, he was sensitive. He was very romantic, very romantic. I mean, you know, it was great. He loved me. He loved my career. He loved what I did.
Even though he really felt that.
Yeah, but
it was tough because you were far
tough.
more successful.
Absolutely, and I was the one that suffered too, you know, because I saw the pain that it caused him. But you know, that's part of being in love with somebody. So there are 18 years that I really look back on and glad I had.
Let's go back to the phone. Cindy from Mount Lebanon. Good morning.
Hi. Shirley, your voice, your singing voice is just absolutely beautiful. And I've seen almost all your movies and your TV, everything. But the thing that touched me the most was the television movie you did with the Alzheimer's. And I thought that was, I cried.
Yes.
The movie was just so touching.
There were times, dear.
Yes.
Yes, I loved it too.
That
really
was the
loved
title
it.
of the movie,
Yes.
we should say.
There were times, dear, was the title of the film.
I was wondering if you have any future projects.
Not at the moment. I wish I could say I did, but no, concerts only, basically.
Oh, we'll go to work and find you movies. My gracious, we've got great talent sitting here, and we'll accept all calls on your behalf,
Good,
right?
good.
And we won't charge you a penny. Right here.
Joy Nicholas Hickson.
Hi,
I went to school
Joy.
with Shirley.
Oh,
Hi.
gosh.
We were majorettes together and in the senior play and on a winning basketball team too. And I have one question. Is Marty really as messy as was depicted on the TV program?
Worse. It's a nightmare. It's not a total nightmare.
Yeah, but guess what? The nightmare is going to be celebrated because their wedding anniversary is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
How many years?
13 years.
And in this case, it's 13 for good luck. We'll take a break and come right back.
Say you're a very busy lady. I know other celebrities promote products. Do you promote any products? And if you do, how do you choose which ones?
I have many, many. I was the spokesperson for Triscuit and a spokesperson for Sunbeam products, the small appliances over the years. I choose the ones that I think are wonderful. I mean, I would never promote anything that I didn't use myself, number one. That's the truth. And, only the ones that I think that everybody else would enjoy.
And you get some advice because your husband, Marty Ingalls,
That's what he
that's his
does.
business. He's a matchmaker, and he matches celebrities with businesses that are looking for celebrities
That's
to
right.
front their products,
Exactly,
right?
yes.
So it's all in the family.
Right.
All right, who had a question? Hold on one second. Let me run around here. Go.
Shirley, I'd like to ask you who your favorite co-star was, and how was Burt Lancaster to work with?
Well, Burt was wonderful. He was just simply wonderful. I mean, I think I probably couldn't have gotten through Elmer Gantry without him because he was a taskmaster and liked to rehearse, and, he was marvelous with me. So he was great. It's hard to say favorite, because I had lots that were exciting. I've worked with some of the most exciting men
How about
in
if I
Hollywood.
help you narrow it down for the category? How about sexiest leading man?
All right, that's perfect. I can say that right off. Richard Widmark was the sexiest.
Ooh,
Matter of fact, I fell
that's
in
got
love.
him going now. Right here.
Shirley, I'd
Yeah.
like to know about your children. Are any of them pursuing a career? Your children
They all are.
Are they
They're all in show business.
doing something right now?
Yes. Sean Cassidy's my oldest, and he just did a production of They're Playing Our Song in Canada on the stage, and he's co-producer of a new series that's on the air right now as we speak on Friday nights called Over My Dead Body with Edward Woodward, and he's writing scripts for the show as we speak, and still acting, Patrick, my middle son, I just told Ann, I got very exciting news yesterday. Patrick Cassidy is going to star in Stephen Sondheim's new musical for Broadway called The Assassins. So it's great news. Ryan Cassidy, my youngest, is still pursuing a career, but at the moment he works at the Disney Channel in Hollywood.
So they're all kind of following.
And David has a new album, new record called Lying to Myself. He's on the road promoting the record. So
Do you
they're-
give them advice? You a showbiz mom?
They ask, yeah. Oh, yeah, they ask. I must say, it's nice that they do. I mean, they don't take anything for granted. They ask all the time and still seek advice, which is nice.
Right here.
Hi, I'm Vivian Cornell Feldman.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to know, are you going to make another Christian tape, music?
I'm not sure. They wanted me to do a Christmas album, which would be fun to do. I'd love to do that. But probably it won't be till next, not this Christmas, but the next. Yeah.
You also, here, we have a question way over here. You've got to come out here with me. I'll bring you out from the wings. Come on out here into the light of day. Yes.
Yes, Shirley, I'd like to know, how'd you get involved in being on a show, on a Partridge Family? And I never missed your show.
Oh.
Even though there was repeats, I still watched it.
How nice.
Can you
That's
sing
nice.
the opening?
No, I can't.
Well, they came to me with the idea, and actually the Partridge Family was based on a real live singing group called the Cowsills. And they had a script and said, would I be interested in doing a show called the Partridge Family? And I read it and said, yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Okay, another question right here.
Why did you decide to write your book?
Why did you say? I'll tell you, it took a long time. I said earlier, Marty always felt that we had a book, mainly because of our courtship. It was based on our courtship. I mean, that's how it kind of got started. But I knew that if we wrote about that, obviously I would have to write about other things. And it took me a long time to decide because I wasn't sure that I wanted to, you know, have the public view my life. I wasn't sure that I wanted that. But finally, after so many people said, how did you two get together? You're so different. You know, your courtship was so bizarre. I mean, what's life like being married to a Marty Ingalls? And I thought, well, you know, there is something here. And that's what made my decision for me.
Right here.
Yes.
Okay. The boy's married? Your boy's married?
My oldest son is married, Sean. Sean Cassidy's married. I have 2 grandchildren.
Hey, you make a beautiful grandmother.
Thank you. Thank you.
He says with a special twinkle in his eye, I might add. I said you said that with a special twinkle in your eye. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We noticed that. To your fans who still think, I mean, beyond the sense of humor, why did she marry Marty Ingalls? You write very candidly about Marty's problems with agoraphobia.
Right. And
he writes about it very candidly as well.
Yes, he wrote, by the way, all of the sections of Marty in the book are word for word his own writing. I mean, Marty's a very good writer, and Mickey Herskowitz edited the book for us and kind of strung it together, but Marty did all the writing.
He had agoraphobia, was afraid of leaving familiar surroundings.
Yes.
And his first venture out to try to conquer that was to an art show on Michael Landon's front lawn, and that's where he ran into, and I do mean ran into,
yes, knocked
Shirley
me onto
Jones.
a chaise lounge, and when I picked myself up, I looked into this cartoon of a face with the big brown eyes, and I saw this sort of light bulb go off, you know, like you see in cartoons, and I thought, I'm going to see that man again. I have a feeling.
But it wasn't easy, and you didn't trust him in the beginning, and perhaps it was those warning bells. I've been through
I didn't
some
trust
tough
anybody in the
circumstances.
beginning, you know. I wasn't about to get hooked up again. It was too soon for me.
And to your fans who were saying, well, where is he? How come he wouldn't come to Pittsburgh? You should tell them this morning why he isn't here.
Well, Marty doesn't fly. He hasn't flown in over 20 years.
He has a fear of
He still
flying.
thinks we're in Piper Cubs, you know. Yeah, he has a fear of flying. I'm not sure what the fear is. You know, it's not the fear of dying, really. It's not the going down. It's you know what it is? It's being out of control. Marty has to be in control. He won't let anybody else drive either. He has to drive the car, you know.
Can't let him look out the
window.
window.
More control than anything else, you know. And he's full of phobias. He still has all the phobias, you know. Now they're less now. But Marty still has agoraphobia. I mean, he still basically has it. And every once in a while lapses back, you know, and won't leave the house for a while.
And he writes very tenderly about that,
Oh, it's
though, in
terrible.
the book.
It's been a big problem for him. And since, you know, there are lots of other people now calling and saying, oh, we know how you feel. And he's discovered so many people that have it.
We'll take a break and come back to wrap things up in just a moment. Film all this evening. See you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Guests on Pittsburgh's Talking stay at the beautiful, newly renovated Hyatt Pittsburgh. Transportation provided by Elegant Limousines of Pittsburgh. Ann Devlin's wardrobe courtesy of Kaufman's through the personal shopping service. Hair care by Griff's Hair Salon in Shadyside.